Okay, good morning. Today we are moving on to CO22. We started with that CO21 with that mean, median, and mode, look in the range, looking at our data. Now we're going to take that data and we're going to do more with it. So today we are going to interpret and create bar graphs and line graphs. So a bar graph is a type of graph in which the lengths of the bars are used to represent and compare data, whereas a line graph is a type of graph in which points representing data pairs are connected by the line segments. So it's using the same data, but making it look different with the type of graph that we're using. There's the horizontal axis. So that's the horizontal number line. That's the line that goes straight across. The vertical axis goes up and down. So when we're making those graphs, we have the bottom, that horizontal, and then we have the one that goes up and down. That's our vertical. It's important when we do graphs that we label it, so we know what information is being represented and how to read that graph. So let's look at making a bar graph. So we're given some data. Destination, China, France, Italy, Spain, and the United States, and how many tourists went to each destination. So if we want to make, and that's in the millions per year. So it's not that there's only 37 tourists going to China in a year, it's 37 million tourists go to China. 77 million tourists go to France, 40 million tourists go to Italy, 52 million go to Spain, and 42 million go to the United States. So if we're going to make a bar graph out of this, we need to, first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose the scale. So we have to think about what that means to choose a scale. So we have to think about how we are going to put our numbers. So we want our vertical and our horizontal axis. So you're going to need to draw it, vertical and horizontal axis. Then we need to label it. On the bottom, we're going to label it by our countries. So we have China, France, Italy, Spain, and the US. And then we need to think, how do we want to skip count going up? Do we want to go by ones all the way up?
No.
Why not?
Because it would be too long.
Yeah, because we have to go all the way up to 77, and that takes up way too much room. We want to do some skip counting. So if we're going to start at 0 and we want to jump up, what do you think would be a good range for us? What would be a good scale to go up, Brielle? If we're going by 35s, we're going to have too many that are too close together. I think we can make our jumps a little bit smaller. What do you think, Tristan?
10.
Maybe by 10s. So we could say 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So that fits in there well. So if we look at China, China had 37 million. So, well, wait, first we have to label. So this would be tourists. And we're going to put by million. So we know that these are going by millions. Down here, we're going to label it destination. So now we need to put our bars in. So let's look. China had 37. So I have a 30 and I have a 40. Where is 37 going to be? Is it going to be right in the middle? No. Where's it going to be, Josie? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit closer to that 40. So we're going to make a bar. And then we want to have a little bit of space between the China and the France bar. We don't want them touching. When you do a bar graph, they don't touch. So if we look at France, France is at 77. So just like 37 was just below the 40, 77 is going to be just below that 80. Italy is at 40, so we want to put it right at the 40. Spain is at 52, so 52 is going to be just above that 50. And the US is at 42, so just above the 40, bless you. So when you do those bar graphs, you want to make sure that you label your horizontal axis, you label your vertical axis. This one we skipped by tens because going by ones would take up too much room. Skipping by that 35 wouldn't spread it out enough. So you want to kind of get that in between. So you're skipping by the right amount, and you can easily look at it and see what is the lowest and what is the highest. There's definitely one that is the highest by far. There's some that were close, that 37, 40, 42, they were close, but that 77 we can see is very high. So now let's look at making a double bar graph. So making that single bar graph, now we need to look at what does it mean to make a double bar graph. So again, we want to make our vertical and horizontal axis. We're looking at different sports, so I'm going to put my sports on the bottom. We've got soccer, basketball, track and field, and volleyball. These are all sports, so I'm just going to label them sports. On the left, we have boys and girls. How many boys and girls play it? So we have, we're just going to call it students. And then I need to figure out what my scale should be. I see 26, 20, 17, 21, 25, 25, 11, and 15. What do you think it would be a good scale going up? If my highest is 25, what do you think we should skip? Should we go by ones or should we do some skipping? What do you think, Will? Maybe going by fives. Now, I see that there are boys and there are girls. So we're going to have two bars. One bar is going to represent the boys and one bar is going to represent the girls. When we do the double bar graphs, when they're both for soccer, those bars are going to touch. So I'm going to use the green for my boys and I'm going to use a red for my girls. So soccer, there were 26 boys. And my girls had 20. So they are actually going to be touching each other because they're both for soccer. We leave the space when it's for a different sport. So now let me do the basketball, 17 boys. Just to make it easier, I'm going to do all of the boys first. 25 for the track and field. And the volleyball had 11. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do the rest for the girls. There were 21 girls playing basketball. 25 for the track and field. And volleyball had 15. So you can see that bar graph looks a little bit different than the one that we had just done with the single bars. This time we have two different sets of data for each sport. So those two are right next to each other. And we can easily compare how many boys played the sport versus how many girls played the sport. We can see that they were even for the track and field. There were more girls playing basketball and more girls playing volleyball. More boys were playing the soccer. So you can compare your data easily. Next, we have interpreting a line graph. So we can see that line graph looks different than the bar graphs, but really it's pretty much the same thing. If we looked at our bar graph, we could plot those points and make a line out of it. So that bar graph is kind of like having lines. So we can interpret it kind of the same way. If we look at this line graph, we can see Monday, there were 300. Tuesday, there were 450. Wednesday, there's 200. Thursday, there's 400. And Friday, there's 650. So instead of looking at how many are in each sport, we're looking at going through the week, the days of the week, how much did they earn? So if we start on Monday, did they earn more on Tuesday or less? More, because it's going up. That line goes up, so we know they're earning more on Tuesday. We know, look at that dip for Wednesday, it goes down. So we know they're earning less. And then it climbs up Thursday and Friday. So we can see when there's those increases and decreases in their earnings. So looking at that line graph, you can see how it changes easily. Now let's see what we have to do to create a line graph. We created that bar graph. Let's create our line graph. All right, making a line graph. Same thing as when we were making our bar graph, we need to have our vertical and horizontal axes. We're going to label them so we can see there are years down here. So I'm going to label our years. So 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2003. These are years, so I'm going to label that bottom with years. My vertical axis has subscribers, so I'm going to write subscribers. And these are in the millions. And now I need to decide what's my scale. I see 69, 86, 109, 128, 141, 159. What do you think would be a good scale for that? Yeah, how much am I going to jump up by? I'm not going to count by ones, because then I have to go all the way up to 159. That's going to be way too much. What do you think I should? 50s might be a little too big of a jump, because we've got a lot that would fall close to each other. We could do 20s. I was thinking 25. 25 might be pretty good. So we start with that 0, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175. So now we need to plot our points. So we have, in 1998, we were at 69. So that's going to be about there. 1999 is 86. That's going to be between 75 and 100. 2000 would be 109. Just above that 100. 2001, it's 128. So right above that 125. 2002. 141, so below that 150. 2003 is 159. And then we want to connect our dots. So what this was showing us was cellular phone subscribers. What can we tell about our graph? What do we know about cell phone subscribers? What happens over the years? Zoe? Yeah, it's going up. It's increasing every year. It's going up every year. Those cell phone subscribers, there's more and more. That was in 2003. It's now 2021. Where do you think it would be at now? It's already in the millions, but it's probably going to be way up here. Well, I can't really mark it on here. Like way up there. It's going to be a whole lot more, because now it's almost 20 years later. If it was increasing every year, it's increasing a ton by now. Okay, so that is our two different graphs that we are working on today. We have our bar graphs and our line graphs. Remember, when you create them, you need to label them. You need to figure out how to skip, which scale you're going to use to do your skip counting. I did assign Khan Academy this morning. That is due Thursday night. I only assigned 3, so do 1 a day. Do 1 tonight, 1 tomorrow night, 1 Wednesday night. Do 1 assignment a day and you'll get your Khan Academy done. So everybody has Khan Academy homework. We are working on our workbook pages 31 and 32 on the bar and line graphs. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to our friends at home and hope you have a good day.